Lagos Housing News 360, the headlines. Nigerian Institute of Quantity Surveyors advocate innovation, sustainability ahead of 2024 annual general meeting. Court orders Enugu government to pay architects 55 million naira as compensation for illegal demolition. Lagos government cracks down on contractors, threatens contract revocation. On the foreign scene, University of Idaho announces major construction projects. The news in detail. In the face of Nigeria's economic challenges, the Nigerian Institute of Quantity Surveyors (NIQS) has called for innovation and sustainable growth within the construction industry as it prepares for its 2024 annual general meeting in Port Harcourt, scheduled for November 26 to 29. At a pre-event press conference, NIQS President, Quantity Surveyor KANO highlighted the Institute's efforts to strengthen quantity surveying practices and processes to address economic turbulence. This year's annual general meeting with the theme Strengthening Quantity Surveying Practices and Processes for Growth and Sustainability in a Turbulent Economy aims to tackle pressing industry issues. Nzekwe stressed the critical role of quantity surveyors in resource allocation, cost management, and efficient project execution amid economic volatility. Now, the KANO state government has commenced the construction of new classrooms and renovation of all the primary and secondary schools in the state. Newsmen reported that the project is part of the Governor Yusuf-led administration's campaign promises to reform the decayed education sector in the state. The government's commitment is also to provide quality teaching and provision of infrastructure in the over 4,000 primary and secondary schools across the 44 local government areas of KANO. During a visit to some of the schools within the KANO metropolis, our correspondent observed that the projects have commenced in earnest. It was observed that while some schools are receiving reconstruction works, others have witnessed renovations of classrooms, with some having been completed and already put to use. Now, the Housing Development Advocacy Network, HDAN, has commended the federal government for its 250 billion naira commitment to addressing Nigeria's housing deficit. This was highlighted during HDAN's visit to the Ministry of Finance Incorporated, where the organization expressed confidence in the ministry's readiness to transform the housing sector. During the visit, HDAN observed MOFI's robust plans to tackle both the demand and supply challenges in the sector. The company displayed a deep understanding of the complexities of housing development, including strategies such as leveraging the capital markets to secure funding for large-scale projects. However, HDAN noted that MOFI's approach aligns with its own advocacy goals, which over the years they have been promoting through their parent organization, the Africa International Housing Show. They, however, cautioned MOFI to learn from the previous housing experiments of the federal government. In Enugu, the State High Court has mandated the Enugu Capital Territory Development Authority (ECTDA) to compensate an architect, Chinedu Onyebuchi, with 55 million naira for the unlawful demolition of his 6 shops in Enugu State. The ruling, delivered by Justice Kenneth Okwe, follows a nearly decade-long legal battle initiated by Onyebuchi in July 2015. Onyebuchi approached the court after the ECTDA demolished his shops in 2014 despite his claims of possessing approved development plans issued by the agency. In his prayers, Onyebuchi sought a declaration that the demolition was unlawful and an injunction to prevent further harassment or interference. He also demanded 30 million naira in special damages and 50 million naira in general damages. Delivering judgment, Justice Okwe ruled that the demolition was unlawful, illegal, and unconstitutional. In Lagos, the state government has issued a decisive ultimatum to contractors handling its housing project, warning of contract termination for those who fail to meet deadlines. This stern action underscores the administration's commitment in delivering much-needed housing to Lagos residents and mounting concerns over delays. Commissioner for Housing Maruf Akindere-Fatai voiced his dissatisfaction following an inspection of key housing development, including the Sangotedo Housing Estate at Yosa Phase 2. He criticized the slow progress of the project despite the government's unwavering support and resources. In a public statement released on the state's official social media account, Akindele Fatai made it clear that contractors failing to meet their obligations would face contract revocation, as such projects will be reassigned to firms with the capacity to deliver within stipulated timelines. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu's dissatisfaction with the current pace of work was also conveyed during the inspection. The commissioner stressed that contractors must meet their deadlines without compromising on quality. The Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Housing, Engineer Abdulhafiz Suriola, echoed these sentiments, urging contractors to adhere strictly to agreed schedules and ensure the timely completion of all project phases. On the foreign scene, the University of Idaho has announced that its $162 million building project to add new housing on the South Hill of campus will start immediately after it obtained approval from the Idaho Board of Education. The scope of the work will also include renovation of two undergraduate housing facilities, the Wallace Residential Complex, Theophilus Tower, and the Elmwood Apartment. The project will be funded through the sale of long-term bonds. It will replace 431 beds with 251 single student beds and 115 married and parenting beds. The new apartments are scheduled to be open in August 2026. Still on the foreign scene, Colombia is starting work on a massive project to transform affordable housing for low-income and vulnerable residents that's years in the making. The Colombia Housing Authority (CHA) plans to tear down and build hundreds of new housing units across the city as part of an almost $46 million project. CHA will renovate 120 housing units and build 43 brand new ones. This includes an entirely new housing development called Kinney Point Apartments at the corner of Garth Avenue and Sexton Road. The project comes as Colombia faces a lack of affordable houses. Around 1,300 people are on a housing authority waiting list for homes, according to Housing Authority CEO Randy Cole. More stories on Housing TV News at the top of the hour.
Housing TV Africa, your first in housing development broadcasting.